Very warm welcome to all of you, and I'm extending a very gracious welcome from the team of Forbes India that is collaborating to present Go Quick Future of Commerce Conclave 2.0. I'm Mugdha Kalra, your host for the evening. After the overwhelming success of our inaugural edition, we are thrilled to bring you this chapter of an initiative that celebrates innovation, transformation, and excellence in commerce. Today, the future of commerce is unfolding before our eyes at an incredible pace. Breakthrough technologies, bold AI advancements, and next gen consumer experiences are not just reshaping industries, they are rewriting the rules of engagement. And right at the forefront of this journey is Go Quick, a brand committed to revolutionizing e commerce through its customer centric solutions and by solving critical challenges across the funnel for brands of all sizes, scale, and platforms. And now, to set the tone for the day, I would like to invite on stage Neha Bothra, Forbes India, to deliver the welcome address. Neha.
Hello, everyone. It's my honor to welcome each of you to the Future of Commerce Conclave 2.0 by Forbes India and Go Quick. The future of commerce is being shaped by breakthrough technology, bold artificial intelligence, and next-gen consumer experiences. Artificial intelligence is raising the bar on personalization and efficiency, enabling omnichannel strategies to seamlessly merge online and offline realms to craft new journeys for consumers across domains. Plus, quick commerce is redefining buying behavior, and India's fintech innovations, such as UPI, are inspiring a global wave of change. Against this dynamic backdrop, we have curated an exclusive series of talks and panels to dive into the dynamic strategies and pioneering technologies shaping the future of commerce. Hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you so much.
And now, to officially kickstart the event, we are joined by a leader who has been instrumental in transforming the e commerce landscape. As the co founder and CEO of GoQuick, he has positioned GoQuick as a trusted partner for brands seeking to deliver seamless shopping experiences. Please join me in welcoming Chirag Taneja, co founder and CEO GoQuick, for the opening address.
Welcome to the Future of Commerce. Delighted to be doing the opening of second edition of Future of Commerce Conclave. If this isn't exciting, the way we have moved from 1.0 to 2.0, I don't know what does excitement mean. What I'm going to show you is super, super exciting. I think today we embark on this extraordinary journey wherein we are trying to reimagine what does future hold. We bridge the gap between present and the future. And I think my personal experience is that if you look at technology, innovation, and bold vision, when they come together, magic happens. We started this journey in 2021 with this exact similar problem statement of, solving for shopping experiences. While we have been glued in terms of solving for shopping experiences, with this advent of AI, what it has led to is that it has expanded our opportunities, our TAMs, our aspirations many, many fold. Before I say even anything further, let's quickly deep dive into what does the future look like. I think as we step into future, it's important to understand that there are these powerful pillars on which e-commerce or practically any commerce is built on. It starts with discovery. The current state is it starts with discovery. Typically you would see that discovery happens either you are searching for something on a Amazon or on a marketplace, or you are scrolling your Instagram reels and then you are discovering, or there is someone else in your friend network has recommended you something. And then you will move on to the necessary but core uh, process of doing the checkout process, which starts with identifying yourself and then moving to doing the necessary things of telling where your address is and then doing the payments. It's a necessary thing which you have to do. And then it leads to the final step of delivery, wherein rubber meets the road, you get the package in your hand. That's the current state. What we are visualizing these three pillars to move to is that discovery starts to become limitless. Imagine, you go to a friend's place, you see a bookshelf, and you suddenly realize, oh, you were in need of one, and you are immediately able to see how does it that look in your living room, right? So that's what we mean by limitless discovery is starting to happen. What we believe, as I said, that checkout is a chore but necessary process in the overall transaction. It will continue to be there, but it will move to the background. It will become invisible for the consumer. It has a lot of ramifications to it, which I'll cover. And then delivery. We are all experiencing the rise of quick commerce, the 15-minute delivery phenomena. I think it's going to become even more widespread across channels. So that's happening. As I move on, imagine going to a storefront and then, these shelves dynamically getting created for you, because all the AI agents would know about you, would know about your needs, would know about the weather of the city, and will be able to dynamically create shelves for you. What does that mean? That means that, consumer is going through, or, choice is no more a luxury. It's becoming a little bit of a paradox for the consumer. What I would say is that, the world is moving towards, can you get clarity to the consumer, right? When they are faced with so many options, can we give them clarity? This is what we want to deep dive into when we say about discovery. As I was saying that this leads to plethora of discovery dilemma. Uh, let's quickly, before I go here, I think we all can recollect that you look at our parents, probably they would have used handful of brands in their lifetimes. Whereas you look at our kids, probably they are using, a handful of brands every month, if not week. So that's how it has changed in the last 20, 25, 30 years. I'll just show you some data which we could collect, and this is our proprietary data as well, some of it. Number of brands which have started to cross greater than 100 crore of GMV in India, which is a sizable scale in our country, which was 25 in 2020. It's already become 100, right? So there is a 4 times growth on this, and we anticipate from here on 10 times growth in the next 5 years. So it's going to become a 4-digit number. Now, one would ask, why would that happen? I think the number one factor there is the disposable income has started to rise. India is growing. And we all know that magic happens when you cross the GDP per capita of $2,500, right? That's where the disposable income increases and you start to see more brands. I think what's even more interesting is that while number of brands are increasing, you see the last column, which is time to reach 200 crores is also dropping. So which took 8 years for a brand in 2020 to get to 10 years is now down to 2.5 years. Our expectation is that this is going to come down to 12 to 18 months. So not only the number of brands are increasing, they are getting there faster as well. What does that mean for the consumer? It means for the consumer that you are going to be always chased by brands in terms of seeking attention. Then what are the opportunities which lie in front of us? Which we call as limitless discovery. What it starts to mean for both shopper experience as well as companies is that from a shopper experience point of view, anywhere shopping starts to become very, very real. Today, you on purpose go out and do window shopping. Now imagine with AR glasses, VR glasses, you're going to visualize something and it's going to become shoppable. What does that mean is that while these AR glasses will be able to identify objects, opportunities will come in terms of linking them to catalogs, linking them to make it shoppable. That's what I mean by the emergence of dynamic product information management companies. That's where the future is headed. Offline has primarily, if you look at offline shopping, it's been consultative commerce, whereas e-commerce has primarily been a single way journey. What this era is going to change is that it's going to become more consultative commerce, right? So we are going to see the rise of two-way shopping agents, both B2B as well as B2C. They're going to talk to each other. They're going to figure out what is the best need of the consumer and then figure out how do you solve for it. So we're going to see the rise of both B2B as well as B2C agents. I think the last one is very, very interesting. I think if you look at the construction of internet today, all the content which resides on the internet today is already there. You just have to search for it, but it was pre-done, right? You look at all product pages, all of them are pre-done. What's changing is that because of advent of AI, there's going to be dynamic creation, on-the-go creation of pages, which takes me to, what is the ultimate dream of a shopper? Once you spend a lot of time in terms of selecting a thing, this looks good on me, this fits me, serves my purpose, serves my pocket, fits my pocket. And then comes the necessary but chore process of doing the checkout. As a consumer, you would want an invisible checkout. You don't want to do that process every now and then. However, if not done right, can be a nightmare for brands. Because if the checkout is not secure, it can lead to massive ramifications, not only for that transaction, but overall for brand salience, for future LTVs, consumer won't come back again. If we don't solve for this invisibility of checkout, our anticipation is that power shoppers in the next 4 or 5 years are going to spend 2 days just doing checkouts. Right? So how horrible is that? So, we got to solve for that opportunity. Let's look at the current state of checkout today. I think it will help us look at what the future lies with. Once you select, then comes the necessary step of identifying yourself, that you do it via mobile number or email. And only 60% people move to the next step, which is the address. We have done a lot of work in terms of solving for these pre-address qualifications. And then comes the next step of doing payments, which is where you decide what payment method you want to pay with, and then you finish the transaction. Best of checkouts today convert at 30-35%, right? Our sense is that consumers take 2 minutes to finish the order. Now, what does the future look like from here? Our view is that logins is an unnecessary step. I think it will be solved by biometric authentication. And then there is going to be predictive address pre-filling. We have already done a lot of advancements on that. And I think the third one is quite fascinating, which is a large opportunity in terms of credit for a lot of banking and NBFC institutions. That this credit underwriting knowledge is going to become decentralized. And it's going to give a rise to a new wave of giving credit to new-to-credit seekers as well. So that's where it is headed. What it would mean in eventuality is that orders would get placed in 3 seconds. So all of the work will be done at the back end. You will just be smiling and saying, okay, I like this, I want to buy this, and I'm done. Which takes me to today's world of quick commerce, where everything has become instant. I would say that the world is moving towards more intuition, right? Wherein you are trying to predict what a consumer is going to need and then keep it closer to you in your warehouse and then serve when the real need arises. If I have to use that term, I think we are going towards an intuitive commerce space era, which is getting developed now. I think to understand this a little bit more, let's look at the way Amazon has taught us e-commerce over the years. They started in 1990s, wherein they said that they wanted to compete with Walmarts of the world, and their only wedge was that can you have a wider selection, right? Have a largest catalog in the world. That was the pillar one which they went with. And then towards the end of 1990s, they figured out that pricing is the next lever which they want to double down on. And then they figured out how can we offer best pricing. And then 2005 onwards is when they've started to focus on that can we deliver faster. That's when Amazon Prime was launched, two-day delivery store was launched. So that's been the framework, which they have used. They have taught us that this is how the world has progressed. Now let's map that to how it has panned out in the Indian ecosystem, right? So you look at selection, marketplaces have used, as taught by Amazon, has used to their advantage that they have the widest selection today. In India, pricing power has been used more by brand.com, wherein they said that they can't have the widest selection. Can they offer the best price? And now we have the next new wave, wherein we are seeing quick commerce companies saying we can't have the largest catalog, we can't have the best pricing because brands will own the best pricing. Can we deliver faster? So they have started to do that. What we believe is that where this is headed is, the future is that all channels will become curated. You will be able to surface what the consumer needs on all channels. Pricing will become dynamic using these AI agents, so that's happening. And then delivery, as I said, while we have started to see one channel started to get inroads, getting to see a lot of traction, it's more secular now. We are going to see across the board delivery timelines reduce. It's going to become even quicker across the board. Which takes me to our attempt at doing some of these AI stuff. This is one of the demo of what we have done towards this.
Hey, I am from GoQuick. Is there anything I can assist you with regarding the item Legacy Brown Leather you left in your cart?
Provide me more details.
Sure. The Legacy Brown Leather is a smartwatch that comes with a 46mm HD display, IP67 water resistance, healthcare, SpO2 monitoring, weather updates, camera control, and music control. Would you like to place a COD order for this smartwatch?
What is the final price?
The final price for the Legacy Brown Leather smartwatch is $214.99. Would you like to proceed with placing a cash on delivery order?
No.
I understand. If you're hesitant, I can offer you a special 10% discount, bringing the price down to $22.49. This offer is valid if you make the purchase now. Would you like to proceed?
Yes.
Great. I will place a cash on delivery order for you with an estimated delivery date of 3 days. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Ending towards, what has been our contribution in the last 4 years in the ecosystem, wherein we have contributed in terms of products which have made not only our merchants more profitable, more sustainable, more profitable, and given them hassle-free financing as well. This is across all our products, leading to a powerful network of today of 10,000 plus merchants. We are the most loved e-commerce enabler in Asia. We today have a largest shopper network of 140 million plus people and power upwards of $1.7 billion of GMV. I think as I end, my keynote, it's, I go back to Steve Jobs, when he said that future always can't, you got to build in the future, but you can't connect, you can only connect the dots when you're looking backward, right? So we are at that stage where, I would urge all of us to continue to build those dots. They will get connected as we look backward. Let's continue to build all of this together. More power to all of you. Thank you.
All right, with that, we are moving, and we have with us a very special person, a visionary whose contributions have revolutionized the digital and mobile advertising space. He has redefined consumer engagement on a global scale. Please join me in welcoming Naveen Tiwari, founder and CEO in Mobi and Glance.
I think the disruption in commerce has been phenomenal over the last 20 odd years, from general trade to modern trade to e-commerce to D2C brands to quick commerce to social commerce. There have been phenomenal evolution that has happened over the last many years. But what has that done? It has, of course, changed the way, as was getting described earlier, it has changed the way our consumer experiences happen on commerce. Now, of course, as a consumer, I've experienced these things. It has also changed something very fundamental about commerce, which is very prevalent, which is why somebody like me could actually start a commerce business. It's actually commoditized commerce to a great extent. It's not actually, it's every main element of the commerce supply chain is actually commoditized today. And you can actually go pick and choose amazing partners and work with them. And that's a brilliant thing because that's a great opportunity for brands to innovate very fast and very differently than they have ever done before. So players like ourselves, I run an advertising company called InMobi, and I run a, a surface operating platform called Glance as a consumer platform. I run two companies. So for companies like us, it's actually become very different to think about commerce in the future of it. So that's on one hand, commoditization that's taken place, which is quite distinct and drastic. On the second hand, the business model of commerce is also changing. There is no reason to charge consumers anything beyond what the cost of the product is anymore. The consumers are not used to paying that anymore. All the marketplaces and e-commerce platform, they're basically going to not be able to charge beyond the price, beyond what it cost them, and maybe a little bit more than that. So the margins in the business of commerce are thinning quite drastically, and I'm presuming that makes it harder for people to essentially acquire customers and what have you. And so therefore, there are few changes that are taking place pretty significantly in the world of commerce that I'm pretty sure everybody's very aware of. But it is important to understand those changes. One, the business model change is that, hey, you actually have to start making money not in selling the product, but in actually running advertising business. So if in effect, the business of e-commerce is transitioning into companies who do well are transitioning this into a business of massive advertising. And that change in business model is something that everybody needs to be aware of, because consumers are not going to pay a certain specific price. They are actually very used to paying a very aggressive pricing. And therefore, the business model change is either being adopted by few or not. So that's one big change that's happening. The second big change is because of the commoditization of supply chain, the other thing which is very visible is if you are just launching your brand and a high quality product, you will not succeed. That era is over. The companies that are succeeding are either able to do a very deep verticalization of their industry, or they have figured out some way of distribution which is very different, a consumer experience which is very different. But just building a great product and building a brand by spending a lot of money in IPL is actually not going to essentially make companies succeed anymore. Now, in all of this, I think the piece which at least interests me, and that's where we have tried to participate in this world of commerce, is the world of technology. Now, the world of technology has been phenomenally rapid, and we all understand it. We're all seeing it on a daily basis in our world. So we have a certain thesis on the future of internet. And therefore, I'll talk about the future of internet from our perspective that we are betting ourselves on, and not so much the future of e-commerce, because I'll link it eventually to it. The future of technology, a future of internet, is it's moving rapidly from a personalized internet to a personal internet. In the world of generative AI, the internet will be generated in real time for you. So we are very rapidly moving into the generative internet world. Now, the generative internet world will be hyper-personalized. And it's not just going to be hyper-personalized, therefore it's going to be a personal internet. So therefore, every time I'm going to be on a browser or someplace, the internet would get generated very differently for me. It will not be same. Now, it is interesting to say this because we did actually try to launch this. We launched this about a few months ago on our Glance platform in the US, and it's been a phenomenal success. Too early to say how big a success it is, but I think in the first few months of its launch, we are starting to see some phenomenal results of what a generative internet would do to consumption. So I consume, my news gets generated for me, my sports gets generated for me, my shopping experience gets generated for me. And that's where, and everything else also in between gets generated for me. Now in that process of generation, Earlier, the idea was that this whole generative AI is going to be very costly, but it's plummeted. The costs have plummeted in the last 12 months itself, and they've probably become 1/10, and they're going to become 1/10 in the next 12 months. So it's going to be a very interesting world to evaluate and see. Now, in that world, so this phone that I carry with myself, this is a generative AI phone that we launched in the US. Now, this is trained on me. This phone is trained on me, which means it actually generates. I actually didn't know I could have projected it, but this actually, because it's trained on me, it does everything that is just specific to me. Now, one of the most fascinating products in this is the commerce experience. Because what it does is, instead of generating just anything, it actually generates my images, and it creates looks for me. So there is a fashion agent baked into my commerce engine that actually generates a look for me every time I turn on my phone on my lock screen. That essentially changes the way I think about commerce going forward. I don't need to look for personalized products. The product is actually built onto me. I'm actually wearing those things, and if maybe later I'll show it to you. But I am actually wearing these products, and I can be seen. I can see myself in those products. My experience of commerce is actually completely changed. The agent that's sitting on it actually understands me, understands the fact that I am Indian, middle-aged, probably a little tall. I seem to have a certain, skin type and what have you. And it probably gets about 1,000 parameters, and it starts to suggest looks for me from different places. Now, getting looks is not the hard part. That's what the machine does. The interesting part is, again, you can't see it, but the interesting part is when I swipe on it, it actually goes and finds that product that the AI actually suggested for me from one of the many stores in the world. And now actually I have that product which I can actually go and buy. The look that the AI suggested for me was based on the fact that artificial intelligence, the agent, thought would look best on me. It took that. It looked up the whole world of commerce and went and picked that product from that place and said, hey, you can buy it then and there. It's a single checkout. Now, it doesn't stop at fashion, by the way. The new agent which is getting launched is actually in autos. The one after that is actually on travel experiences. So it is not just, it is commerce across the whole spectrum of things. So that's our worldview. So for somebody who does not understand commerce, understands technology, this is how we have tried to embrace e-commerce, and this is how we have tried to think about the future of commerce. We fundamentally believe that the future of commerce is all about generative commerce. The beauty of this is, the faster you launch, the learning curve is insane. If you are 6 months late in this journey of generative AI, you're not in that picture. So the world of technology, which was changing the way we thought about from the general trade to modern trade all the way to quick commerce, it was taking, the disruption cycle was shrinking pretty rapidly. If you start to put this in the world of technology from an artificial intelligence lens, actually we have less than a year. So this new era of e-commerce, in my view, is about owning the consumer experience and the experience layer. Companies and organizations and brands that will own the consumption or the experience layer will now be the one that will own everything else, because everything else under that stack is actually commoditized. And so therefore, if there is one point of view that I can share for somebody who does not understand e-commerce, it would be that please embrace the rapid change in technology and jump into it, because a delay in that means you might not be in it at all. So thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been a great pleasure to be here.
All right, AI is no longer a distant concept. It is at the core of modern commerce. AI is unlocking new possibilities at every level of the value chain. Now, to explore this transformative power of AI in commerce, I would now like to invite Harichandan A.R. Rakali from Forbes India to moderate this very special session.
Raghu, if I can start with you, from your 3 decades of experience, you have seen, even I think from pre-dot-com era, a lot of technology waves come and go. Can you give us a sense of how you look at personalization and what are the different facets? And then we can dive into how AI is beginning to change that as we go along.
The customer now is really spoiled for choices, right? So there is any platform that you go to, there's a huge selection that is available, and it can quickly overwhelm anyone. So for Myntra, so personalization is very important to be able to show the right selection for the user, to provide as seamless a shopping experience for the customer as possible. So we have about 3.5 million styles that are there on our platform. And on any given month, we have more than 70 million customers who come onto the platform. So it's a huge combination, as you can imagine. So it is very important for us to personalize the experience. So we look at this in a couple of this problem in a couple of ways. So one is cohort-based personalization, and the other is at the individual level, personalization at the individual level, and how we can judiciously leverage both of these aspects to provide that customized, personalized experience. So cohorts that we talk about are based on, let's say, location, affluence, purchase frequency, demographics. So there are these different kinds of cohorts that do think alike, to some extent. And in a country like India, let's say, where there are something like fashion is so related to occasions, festivals, and so on. There are certain things that are celebrated, in a region and so on, right? So it makes sense to think of some of these cohorts. And the other is at the individual level, right? So this is where we use the, the browse data, the search data, the purchase data of the customers, so that we understand a little bit more about their brand affinities, price point affinities, style affinities, fit affinities, and so on. And using all of this, we come up with a recommendation platform, right? And how we manifest this is, across the shopping journey, starting from, let's say, the home page, where the content we show in each of our widgets is personalized. The order in which we show these widgets is personalized. The search ranking, results are personalized, and so on. So we have about 25 different recommendation, widgets across the board. One specific one that maybe if I can talk about is, the size and fit. So which is a unique problem to, the fashion industry. So as we know, different brands of the same size can have different fits and so on. So what we have done is, again, use AI. All of this, what I spoke about, of course, uses AI. And here again, we use AI to be able to recommend the right fit for a person, irrespective of the brand that the person is now looking to buy, based on previous purchases. So those are some of the areas, in ways in which we are trying to use AI and enhance the personalization experience for the customer.
Gaura, I'm going to come to you. Anybody who's used the Swiggy app, and I'm guessing that most folks here would have used it, can already see individual recommendations. The more they use it, the more there are combinations that are offered and so on. What's the food equivalent of the right fit? And also these days, people are considerably more health conscious, nutrition conscious. I put that there because maybe you can also take us into that as we get into the foreseeable future, going from recommending food combinations to recommending healthy food choices and so on. Over to you.
Yeah, I think just like fashion, food is also an area which has varied tastes, varied preferences, and same dish from different restaurants also don't taste the same, right? So when it comes to personalization in the food space, especially, I think it is the AI built there needs to understand 3 parts, right? One part is understanding the dish itself very well, which means it goes into the part of what we call as food intelligence, or in the quick commerce world, it's catalog intelligence, which is about a more intelligent taxonomy of understanding what the dish is about, about the taste, which cuisine it is, and a lot of understanding of the dish. The second part is understanding the taste preferences of the customer based on the interactions the customer has had with different dishes, whether it's browsing, ordering. How can you develop a taste profile, or like what we call in the AI world as embeddings, but how can you understand the taste profile of the customer? And the third most important, like you spoke about, is the need state. The same customer on a weekday morning, the need state is very different. I want something very quick and I can grab and go, versus on a Friday evening, I am in a more exploratory and indulgence mode, right? So, how can you understand the need state of the same customer and personalize according to that context? So that helps achieving like n equal to 1 or an individual customer level personalization for us.
So I want to ask you, Kishore, India offers, like a billion-person variety in so many different ways. Scale, obviously, but also in terms of taste and language and so on, culture, which has an impact on commerce. And you're representing one of the world's biggest sort of operations when it comes to e-commerce. Can you give us a sense of how you kind of meld such a large scale as well as modern personalization efforts?
Yeah, maybe I could take it into two steps in terms of I think we covered part of it in terms of, it's a very similar line of thought in terms of thinking about personalization. We call it adaptive, and personalization, where adaptive is figuring out customer cohort level personalization in terms of overall customer demographics, regional distribution, cultural preferences, and their proficiency with e-commerce in general. And then we have content level personalization, which gives us the ability to go deeper into that particular customer's preference. But when it all comes down, I think where you're going to in terms of how does that get realized in terms of operations at a scale of billions of units in a year, billions plus units in a year distributed across hundreds of fulfillment centers? Where do we stock which particular product, and how do we refine our operations based on it? So I think the charm, we covered a lot in terms of front-end experiences and customer experiences, but for that to be realized, the pillars are still ability to have the right kind of catalog, the selection pillar, the pricing pillar, and the convenience pillar, as we call it, in terms of speed of delivery and so on. For that to realize, our ability to figure and predict how some of these products would be consumed in each of these areas gives us the ability to stock the right products. So if you look at the whole e-commerce ecosystem, it's a multi-seller marketplace that we operate, which is operating with multiple sellers located in multiple parts of the country, with fulfillment centers or the locations where we store our products being distributed across the country. So where you store these products primarily is dependent on the predictive ability to figure which consumption patterns are going to lead to consumption of which products. So that distribution is super critical for us. And AI naturally plays a very huge role, not only for us to stock the products in the right place, but also to inform our sellers to ship it to the right place at the right moment of time, the right number of items to ship it to. For example, you might want to ship to a fulfillment center in Hyderabad 200 items, to a Chennai fulfillment center 100 items. These are all predictive abilities that we have developed to be able to, it's not just Amazon, but to survive in this industry, it's super critical that all of us have this intelligence to place the right product at the right place to be able to deliver in the right kind of speed.
Suman, with a slight change in sort of gears, if there's a conglomerate that can probably build, quote unquote, what we folks, reporters and others like to call super app, you're working for one of them, and you previously worked for one other conglomerate, which is attempting along those lines. The question is, if you take a subsegment, like maybe high net worth individuals or generally an affluent cohort, how does the tech for personalization change there? What are you seeing in terms of emerging trends and so on?
Absolutely. I think the whole haystack of personalization, right, I think has fundamentally changed. I mean, what it used to be maybe even 18 months ago from now, right? So I think if I just pick up Tata Click Luxury, and I think within luxury you can find different kind of cohorts. So as you know, earlier we have seen that as people have more disposable income, so naturally there is affluence in the society. So I think fundamentally what was spoken remains same. The two pillars, right? I mean, there are cohorts and then there are behavior, user behavior level, personalization. I think ultimately when we are catering to a very luxury sort of user, being able to personalize for the user plays a central role. I think how we look at our transformation within the click stack. And so there, I think one of the things we are looking at is focusing on discoverability for these users, right? So how do we make the home, browse, search? Even I believe though being able to search will also fundamentally change, and it is already changing. How do we ensure the user get to that product, the selection, as everybody spoke about selection, but I think for luxury, one of the challenges, the selection is very curated. It's not masses, it's less. So how do you make sure that those brands and selections are available to the end user at the right place? And also, I think being able to give them a very curated experience, right from content, right from campaign, right from personalized store. I think that's the way we look at it from a discovery funnel. Ultimately led to a journey where user can select and get to the cart for the preferable product as soon as they can. The second part of the personalization is also about, it's not about just a product selection, especially if you look at an affluent user, then they are focusing on niche when they're buying certain kind of niche. So let's say people might have a view on collecting watches. If that is one type of user, how do we make sure that we give them that, be it in any location, right? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And I think that, so what I'm trying to say that as a tech stack, it is also about going horizontal and also building vertical on the user, right? So some of the pieces Raghu talked about or Nikhil talked about, I think is about this whole notion of location-based as well as being able to give these users in a seasonality, because in India, even season plays a big role. What you can wear in Mumbai versus what you can wear in Bangalore may differ even in the same time. So I think it is a bit of both, and I think with the power of generative AI, I think what we have started experimenting in a smaller way is being able to create those content, personalized content for this user, and also eventually get to a personal shopper-led journey for this user, so that they don't just talk to a search or a app, but also talk to a shopper at an omni-channel level, be it a WhatsApp, be it within the platform, be it inside, right? So I think that's the way we look at it. The journeys can come from many directions, but how do we ensure the user get to that selection, what they're really looking for? For us, I think the speed is less focus on the luxury, but delivery is still a focus, being able to deliver quickly, that is still remains same. So I think if I have to summarize search, discovery, I would leave it there, and personalized content, I think, yeah, the three horizontals. Yeah.
Nikhil, would you say concepts like discoverability work with coffee? Because coffee can be a very, very personal experience. You might want to wake up and get the exact brew of, if you're a South Indian, maybe filter coffee. But in a Starbucks, there are so many varieties, and where are we going with this? I mean, are we going to have an agentic AI experience which will, tell you, would you like to try this today? And by the time you get to your nearest Starbucks, something which has strawberry in it or cucumber, or I don't know, give us a sense of what you're all thinking about.
So yeah, I mean, Okay, well, when it comes to the product, obviously, I mean, like, I don't think we are in a place today where, let's say, like, we can really predict to the extent of, like, choices, what would happen. I mean, that's what the general, I would say, like, we rather focus on the consistency of experience and the product, right? So what it really means is, yes, I mean, like, being omni-channel. I mean, earlier life was simple. I mean, you go to a coffee house. I mean, you select what you want to have. Typically, and like, we had a lot of sticky customers, right? So to the extent where the baristas also knew the person almost, if not by name, by face, right? So there was always an element of personalization over there. Having scaled up to now close to 500 stores and of course, like, having a much larger customer base, for us, it is the mobile application that we have, right? The My Starbucks Reward, which is essentially the face of the company in the hand of the consumer. And to that extent, yes, whatever we capture in terms of the preference, recommendations, past history. So, well, I mean, is it truly AI? Maybe not. I mean, we are certainly working on a lot of initiatives to, like, to get more predictions and, let's say, like, I mean, something like preferences of new products as well. But right now it's more relying on the ML part of it, right? So, which is basically, okay, like, what has been the historic ordering, what has been the, like, the typical choices over a period of time. So people do get confused a lot between, like, when we speak of AI and then there's ML, there's Gen AI. So yes, I'm still waiting for maybe, like, some generative model to tell a new, let's say, like, beverage altogether, right? Not there yet. But yes, I mean, like, when it comes to like, the use of technology, obviously we are leveraging more to, like, have the consistency of experiences anytime, anywhere. So whether it could be like, and very soon we'll probably be in the quick commerce, like, that 10-minute space as well. So now whether you really go to the coffee house for a, let's say, personal experience, or you routinely order through any of the, let's say, like, aggregators or through app, or it's instantaneous where you want, let's say, like, just think of a coffee and you want it in 10 minutes. If you are in a serviceable area, I think we should be able to do that.
Thank you all again for making time and joining us here, and really enjoyed this, and definitely hope to keep the conversation going.
Our next panel will discuss omni-channel commerce and how it is bridging online and offline for seamless experiences. A strategy transforming how customers shop and engage with brands. Gone are the days when consumers shopped exclusively either online or offline. To explore how brands are redefining customer experiences, I would like to invite back on stage Neha from Forbes India.
So tell me, why do you think the omni-channel commerce is a difficult space to navigate, not very clear-cut? We know that seamless is the word, but what are the challenges that you face and how have you addressed these?
Wakefit has been a reluctant adopter of offline. Till 2015 is when we started. Till about 2022, we were completely online. And there again, we focused heavily on D2C, which is our own channel, because we were always worried that the marketplaces and our incentives are not aligned. And once the pandemic receded and people went back to offline, you could clearly see that the online pace of growth had reduced. So we said, okay, we have to experiment, let's try it out. And because we had surplus office space during COVID, we used our ground floor office itself as the first showroom. We cleared out all the benches, cleared out all the seats, and just made that our offline showroom to test out how it works. We are a very frugal company, so we thought that's the best way to test it out. The metrics were very good. So again, we said, maybe we should try out 10 stores. And we just took up 10 stores in 4 cities and again tried it out. Metrics were still good. That's when we actually said, hey, this is working out. We should explore. And the reason why we were reluctant is very simple. When you're online, any improvement that you do has the potential to give exponential upside. And everything else, which is an input parameter, is highly controlled because they're all sitting in one office space. But suddenly when you're offline, the exponentiality goes away. You're linear. You get the average revenue per square foot, average revenue per store, multiplied by the number of stores, and you have a linear growth. Second thing is, suddenly your customer experience that brought you here is all completely under stress because people are all over the country. You don't know whether they're giving the right customer experience, whether they're trained enough, whether they're handling it very well. So all of these concerns were there. But slowly we realized that it was a completely integral part of how customers were shopping. They wanted to browse anywhere, purchase anywhere, and pick up anywhere. So that gave us clarity that we cannot dictate where the customer is, but we have to be present where the customer is already shopping. During COVID, yes, there was a huge online surge, but then later they went back with a vengeance. So you have to be present there. So today we have about 100 plus stores managing about 3.5 lakh square feet of space across about 30 cities. And we can speak more as we go down the questions, but we've tried to integrate technology across all of these touch points, saying that it does not matter where the customer wants to research. It does not matter where the customer wants to speak. It does not matter where the customer wants to finally press buy. So that is the journey where the reason I said no to your question is I still feel it's a long journey across 5-6 different channels, and to make it a truly omni-channel experience, we are way away, and there's many years of work left.
Kaushik, at Sugar Cosmetics, when you started the brand, you started with a digital-first business model. At what point did you decide to make the jump? Of course, I do understand that the pandemic was a huge boost for online sales, and after that, you had to readjust. But was it always part of the long-term plan, or was it something that was more of a response to changing consumer behavior after the pandemic?
You know, I wish I had an eloquent answer to that, but we got into offline completely by accident. We were supposed to be a digital-first brand. Instagram was our go-to channel for building awareness, and we were quite ahead of the pack for most of our lives. Then I remember there was this brand that moved out of a mall, and we had just raised our Series B. And I don't know, market may people assume that if you've raised capital, you will spend money without thinking. Sometimes you do, but otherwise. So they came and said, look, there's this store that's opened up. There's Forest Essentials on one side and there's Mac on the other side. Do you want to take it? You're like, no. We're not looking at offline. You keep it on the phone. And I couldn't sleep that night. You keep visualizing that, oh, what if? And then you go down that slippery slope. So that started offline for us. But I think today, having spent, and that was actually pre-COVID, but today having spent about 6 years being a offline plus online business, in fact, not many people know that offline actually is a majority of our sales right now, and not online anymore. Now today we realize that in India, if you want to build scale, eventually at some point in time, you have to embrace offline. And I think Chetan is being very modest when he says no. I mean, he's running a profitable 4-digit revenue company with offline. So it's hard. It can be hard. But I think that's how we got into it. And today, although digital is where most of our consumers discover us, engage with us, interact with us, ask us questions, a lot of shopping will continue to happen offline, and we are fully invested in it.
Siddharth, coming to you now, tell us a bit about how you have embraced omni-channel commerce. Tell us a bit about what really pushed you into the offline space and how has your experience panned out?
I think, all three of us have had similar sort of journey when it comes to offline. I was passing by a street in Jayanagar, saw a to-let board. There was a contact number written, said 2,200 square foot, 3,65,000 rental. And there was absolutely no retail present, across that entire street, even till today. I just called up, folks in the office. I asked them, offline jana hai? They were like, what's wrong with you? So I said, look, I've seen this place, looks like a good bet. Even if we do 7-8 lakhs in revenue, the store will be profitable. That's when, offline started. Took 2 months to design the store. July 15th is when we launched the store. There was no large influencer called, there was no mega sort of launch that we did. We just messaged our customers saying that this is our first offline store, gave a shout out on Instagram. By 4 o'clock, we had to barricade the store. We couldn't allow consumers inside. 15 days, that store did almost 50 lakhs in net revenue. The next month, it doubled. And by December, we went almost 3x. That's about 1.5 crores in one store, which is 2,200 square foot. And I was stunned because, we've not seen that sort of growth with a, huge EBITDA margins also. That's where we learned. I mean, we took 6 months to understand offline retail, double down on retail, from January this year. We've already opened 39 stores now. I think what I've realized is, you need to be there everywhere, where consumers want. For us, being digital first, we have a lot more advantages, I would say, when it comes to store locations. You exactly know where you have your consumers, what is their average order value, what is the retention been in those pin codes. So your decision making becomes much more easier there. Two is, can you use store inventory, also, showcase it online and vice versa. And that is the, journey that we're transforming into. I would, hopefully want to imagine Snitch not having a warehouse maybe 5 years beyond. If you could fully integrate it, it's possible.
Very quickly, what do you think would be one big trend to watch out for in omni-channel commerce in 2025? Chaitanya.
Perception of personalization, market of one, the feeling that somebody has created something just for you. I think that's a big thing in our industry.
Kaushik?
I think hyper-personalized education, because we've just started seeing tablets appear in screens. I think in the future, there's going to be a lot of screens in a lot of stores, and those screens are going to be two-way. They're going to take your data and also spit out data back. So I think that's going to be it.
Siddharth?
I think it's going to be experience, giving the right sort of experience online, offline, across digital, different touch points. I think that's really tough to crack, but as a brand, we would, emphasize more on it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. This was a very interesting conversation. Many thanks for joining us.
We are now moving to our next panel of the evening, which is titled FinTech Innovations Driving the Future of Commerce. To dive into this transformative journey and its impact, I would like to invite Ritu Singh from CNBC TV 18 to moderate this very special session.
FinTech innovations that will drive the future of commerce, because I believe the two have been very closely intertwined. I mean, the way you buy, I don't know, a coffee or a chai at a stall, or maybe some things from a kirana, or go online and shop, or go to a big retail store, you're using all kinds of payments, right? And that's thanks to some of the innovation that players like you have brought into the fore. So with that, let me start with you, Amit. Before anything else, because we're talking about the kind of innovations that have happened in FinTech, give us a sense of what exactly it is you do at TWID, because you're converting reward points into currency.
Ritu, first of all, thank you so much for getting us here, and thanks to GoQuick and Forbes. So, at TWID, what we are doing is we are unlocking the value of alternate currencies, which are in the form of rewards or gift cards or cashbacks or offers, etc. And we are letting it used as a mode of a checkout at various merchants. And GoQuick is a very close ally where all the D2C merchants are really gaining the traction of those points that people have. Typically, what happens is that when people have got so many rewards, they don't know what exactly to do with them. Generally, if you ask anyone on the field, it gets expired.
Guilty.
And what we are trying to do is that we are giving this as a power to the consumer back. And we are telling them that this is yours, use it the way you want to use it. Now, when we typically look at all the merchants also, the merchants are looking at, payments comes as the last form factor. But as a consumer journey, it starts from intent to buy something. And then it comes as a shopping cart, and then offers, and then payments comes as last. So what at TWID we are also doing is we have created multiple products. First, like for example, Fetch Rewards, which gets deeper integrated into merchants from the initial journeys of consumer. So merchant wants to increase their average order values, they want to reduce their marketing spends, they want to do multiple things. So let's say you're buying pizza from Domino's. So you have added Domino's into your cart, and now you're at a pre-checkout page. Now you see Chocolava cake you want to probably buy, which comes at 99 rupees, but not many people actually add those products. But now if that 99 gets crossed by the merchant, by Domino's, and say, take it at 1 rupee because you're using rewards.
We love free stuff.
We love free stuff. And that's how people keep using it. So TWID is trying to get more deeper with our partners, wherein the idea is to increase the conversion of merchants, get more consumers attracted to those merchants, and really gain the value of what really the KPIs of these merchants needs to be driven, right? So I think that's where TWID is doing.
Vibhav, let me put the same question to you because all of us have credit cards. Whenever we're looking to buy tickets, say on Make My Trip, we look for what is the best offer. Often we want to know whether we have some points accumulated that we can use to buy something. How are you at OneCard solving for that? You're not just a co-branded partner for banks. Tell us what you're doing.
So we run actually consumer platforms, and these consumer platforms do a variety of things. One of the consumer platforms talks about consumer education in terms of credit. How can consumers responsibly manage their credit on their own? Then the other platforms where we kind of provide products and services for banks and financial institutions for businesses like credit cards. Now, what this platform does is exactly as you said, make the experience better, life easier. We work with partners like GoQuick, TWID, so that every part of the experience is simplified, personalized, and enriched for the consumers using tech and data as fundamental core.
Amit, let me then come back to you on what, to your mind, since we talk about this intertwined growth between the fintech space and e-commerce, has been the single biggest innovation in fintech that has redefined the way that we look at commerce today, and don't say UPI.
I think from an innovation perspective, there has been multiple, by the way. I think India is at the forefront of making multiple innovations as we go along. NPCI, to be honest, is definitely at the forefront of it. Not just the UPI, but now credit on UPI.
Is NPCI the most innovative fintech in India today?
I would call it yes, of course. So they are, people think that it's a regulatory body. I think it's actually a startup. If you go in the NPCI office today, it's buzzing with the young crowd, trying to do multiple things, almost 20 hours a day. You would see people right in their offices and trying to innovate things.
Are players like you, both Amit, you and Vibhav, solving for that last mile customer? Or are you, would you say, catering to this very saturated market that has sources to all sorts of apps and fintechs, and they're already using all kinds of rewards and points that they can get? Just to your point, are fintechs really solving for the larger Bharat, not just the metros? How many are?
No, 100%. And to be honest, the way we are also, what we are trying to solve at TWID is we are building an affinity score for consumers by understanding the consumer patterns and behaviors. Now, currently, when we are looking at the affinity score, we are trying to use it primarily for our own purpose internally to identifying the next shopping pattern of a consumer. And typically attract the customer right when we know that the consumer is about to make a shopping thing, right? But that kind of data can also be given as another source of data to the another fintechs and banks, etc., to actually underwrite a customer. The idea is how open are they to use it?
Vibhav, finally, let's say if you were to fast forward 10 years into the future of commerce, what is one radical shift you believe that fintechs will bring to commerce that probably is unimaginable to many in this space today?
So let me take 10 years prior to now. I wouldn't have imagined a lot of consumers being able to go and pick up, stuff like shirts, online. Will people go and have an experience of almost a touch and feel 10 years down the line, sit at home or sit wherever they are and get more products delivered to them and experienced digitally, and will that drive commerce?
Amit, are you in a worry about overconsumption and over-leveraging at this space?
No, I will add to what Vaibhav said. There are two things 10 years down the line I see, and some sort of work has already started happening on that. One is there'll be a plenty of personalization that will go into picture, wherein the platforms or brands or banks would know a lot about me, and they will be able to attract me when it is needed. And not pre or post kind of things, right? So they know exactly. So everything will happen real time when things will get into picture. So that's number one. Number two, in my opinion, there will be a lot of unified, sort of a unified experience will come into picture. So as I was talking to someone else, so be it from a payments perspective, be it I have cash, be it I have got offers, be it I have got wallets, cards, alternate currencies, etc. Everything will be so seamless for people to use that they would not even notice that what they're trying to do, and the transactions will get completed.
Thank you so much, Amit and Vibhav.
Now, as we know, content has also become the beating heart of modern commerce. It's no longer just about selling a product, it's about telling a story, building trust, and creating meaningful connections. Which brings us to our next discussion, the intersection of content and commerce, crafting experiences that drive sales. To guide us through this exciting conversation, I would like to invite my panel on stage. Put your hands together for Parul Gulati, founder Niche Hair, Varun Gupta, co-founder Bolt, Amar Nagaram, co-founder and CEO Virgio, and Ronak Shah, CEO Obvi. Ronak is joining us from New York. Let me start with you, Parul. What content formats do you like? And did you see your product being most visible on? I do know that a lot of your content, a lot of the content that you make involves you and real customers, and you make them try, and you can instantly show कि देखो कितना फर्क आ जाता है, right? You can absolutely show at that point in time what the changes are. But then how do you decide which medium to use for what? Who are these people that you want to target? And when you are on social media, obviously your strategy becomes more about storytelling as well. How do you see that all patched together?
Initially, it was always that what I felt like putting out there, and then seeing how people are reacting to it. So definitely when it comes to bringing more awareness, I hop on trends or do something fashion because that's more easy on your eyes. You want to watch it for longer, you get more views on it. But when it comes to driving sales, it is UGC. I need to put it on a customer and show it. This is how it can change your look. It can give you coverage. If you have receding hairline, if you have balding, I'm showing in an instant how it's getting covered. And other than that, just having more loyalty base of customer to build so that people stay on the page or stay with the brand for longer. That's more P2C, where I'm directly talking to the camera, showing my products, talking about them, and doing storytelling, because that's when they feel, oh, she's like us. We can trust her. She will not cheat us. So that helps a lot. And then when it comes to influencer marketing, that again is for awareness and for fun.
You, Varun, are somebody who came into the business, but you are also the face of your brand. How do you see now this narrative building where people are able to associate with the owner of the brand, and that intimacy is there, because there are so many brands where you don't know who owns the brand and you do not you're not interacting with them. But was it a plan in making, or did it happen accidentally?
So we at Bolt, and I'll speak for my journey as well. We had our own, we've been around for 7.5 years, and we've sort of seen the semi-digital revolution turn into the social revolution, now into the real revolution. We started with marketplaces, Myntra to begin with, and we ventured across all e-commerce marketplaces. And we've done some right things, and we made a lot of mistakes. Initially, we did one right thing in terms of focusing our marketing budgets just on e-commerce marketplaces in form of performance marketing. But slowly and steadily, we started understanding the power of branding, that consumers want to go beyond the product. Initially, you just think that it's all about the product, making a great product, getting good reviews, and showcasing that product. That's 101 simple, no shebang marketing. But then you start understanding the power of brand and content, and which is where we were making some mistakes, which is where we were too myopic. Second, we thought that our consumer and the world and the country is a reflection of us, which was the biggest mistake. In two facets. One, we thought because we watch Bollywood movies, they are the biggest stars of the country. But we understood the southern part of the country, which is a good 40-45% of our demand, does not watch Bollywood, which is when we graduated to a cricket star as a brand ambassador in form of Surya Kumar Yadav, to understand, when we understood that insight, that okay, cricketers go beyond languages and boundaries, while actors both in different parts of the country, the southern film industry, the northern, etc., do not go beyond languages. Second mistake we made was to think of our customer like us, which is where we thought we use Instagram,
and we watch certain kind of content, and there's a certain class to the certain kind of content we watch. We follow the certain kind of influencers, and my consumer would also be following that, which is where we were again proven wrong. And we happen to do a market research, and we happen to look our social following and our conversions from Facebook and Instagram, and we were so shocked to see that 70% of our revenue from our ads came from Facebook instead of Instagram, while nobody in my social team had a Facebook account. And they only had a Facebook business account because they had to post content out there as a good to have medium, that okay, it's an obsolete medium. But then we came to know that it was the medium for them. Thirdly, then we happened to do a market research, and we happened to talk to a few thousand Bolt customers, and again we got an insight that okay, we have a huge database of millions of customers. Why don't we reach out to a simple WhatsApp, simple SMS, etc., and seek some feedback? Then we got to know that where do they spend most of the time, which was in pre-COVID and pre-anti-China sentiment, it was TikTok, and now it's Moj, Takatak, ShareChat, and a lot of regional media. And we thought most of our content would be A on Instagram, it would be A, B around English, and C, everything would be around how we perceive our echo chamber to be. But the real world, real Bharat, real consumer was very, very different. Which is where the fourth step we took, which is where I understood power of content, and power of content when there is a face to the brand. I'm not naturally a social person. My Instagram account is still private, but my LinkedIn account is pretty public, and I'm still going through that journey and still learning.
Amar, if I may come to you, and we have to wrap up also, but what content formats do you like personally for your brand? What led to it? And I do see that there is a lot of serious talk there as well. Do you sometimes feel it might overwhelm the consumer who's actually looking at everything, that, this is the amount of water that went in, or this is the carbon footprint, etc., all those details?
The place where we are right now is after a year of a lot of mistakes. I don't think there is a playbook out there on how you approach social media. And it is different for different brands also. When we started our journey, we tried to be very preachy about why you should have a sustainable lifestyle. Nobody cared. Right. But even today, if you just go search for sustainability as a hashtag, it still trends. So what people say to what people observe, there's a huge difference.
Right.
That's when we also realized that, is this how we should even talk about our product? What part of the product is getting the attention of the consumer, and let's start building on top of it. So we actually did multiple experiments. It literally boiled down to three things for us. One is attention span. Each platform stands out for the attention span. On Instagrams of the world, we just show the aesthetic side of our products, right? We do not try to educate. We do not try to preach. We do not talk about what happens behind the scenes. We just keep it engaging, entertaining. What Instagram also allowed us to do is partner with very, very relevant brands, thanks to Parul. We could reach out to the same consumer. Like when she did her Get Ready With Me video, she was wearing Virgio, right? And that got the attention. So we kind of doubled down on it. Today, we have a constant flow of the content coming, which is why our Instagram community in less than a year has actually grown to 190,000.
Ronak, the last word is yours. You are creating content for a wide consumer base. What are the 3 content-related tips you can perhaps give that have worked for you and can perhaps work for other businesses out there?
Well, I think it's tough to narrow down to 3, right? But I think number 1 that's been super important for us is we're focusing a lot on personalization and really getting down to understanding why somebody is coming to buy with you, right? I think a lot of people, we're all used to bucketing most people who come to our website or try to purchase with us into one big bucket. And when you try to break down why somebody is coming to buy from you, there may be somebody who's coming because they're experiencing hair loss. Some people who are, trying to avoid hair loss. Some people who are experiencing, brittle nails. Some people who are trying to avoid that. How you market to them, speak to them, retain them, I think all needs to become extremely personalized. You can't go out with the broader message anymore. So we have a lot of different funnels for each type of messaging. each type of reason somebody's buying. So if you bought for a certain reason, the emails and SMS and communication you're going to get is completely personal to why you bought. I think that's number one, super important. Number two, I think just the utilization of platforms that we have access to, such as Meta, TikTok, and some of these platforms where people are running ads, we're hyper dependent on ads. It's not just about getting the sale anymore. It's about getting the highest quality customer. So for us, we rather get 2 less sales, but get one person that's going to stay with the brand longer. And then lastly, I think the role of live commerce right now is really big. I think we're going to get to a point where with AI and some of the hyper personalization stuff that's going to happen is you're going to get to a product page or parts of a website, and it's going to be curated completely to the reason you're buying or shopping. So before we get to that stage, I think understanding that people are going to want to look for that.
Thank you, Ronak, for taking out time this morning for us. Thank you so much. And thank you, all three of you, for giving us your time. The next panel, it's actually a fireside chat of the evening where we are diving straight into one of the most disruptive trends that we already sort of spoke about when Ronak spoke about quick commerce. All right, so we will talk about the rise of Q-commerce in India with its challenges, opportunities, and path to profitability. To explore the dynamic rise of Q-commerce in India, may I again request Neha to please come back on stage and moderate this fireside chat. And to discuss this fascinating subject, we have two visionaries leading the charge. We have Kaivalya Bohra, co-founder Zepto, and Anand Daniel, partner Axel.
Kavalya, tell me what gave you the courage to actually go so big and build Zepto? Because when you started, you did not have too many success stories to back your vision, right? In fact, there were companies that did experiment with this model 4 years back, 5 years back, but they were unsuccessful. What do you think you did differently?
Back, so 2020, all of this actually was sparked because of COVID. We sort of didn't really set out to go start. First of all, we didn't really go out to start a company or anything like that. When COVID started, there was lockdowns. A lot of folks went, kirana store owners, supermarket guys went back to their villages. A lot of the online platforms were taking 7-8 days to deliver, and so it sort of started with this problem of like my granddad was stuck at home and couldn't get atta, right? And so started there, and it started with just, okay, is there any way for us to help out some of these folks in the neighborhood? And we tried multiple different models, and ultimately, kirana cart, et cetera, and ultimately what we tried 45-minute delivery, 60-minute delivery, and all of that. And what we figured basically was that this might be a slightly long answer, but with kirana cart, it was like a pick up and drop set up from nearby supermarkets and so on. Average delivery time was 45 minutes or 60 minutes. There were some customers that, by chance lived close by to the supermarket or store that they were ordering from, and they were getting their deliveries in 10 minutes. So very small set of users, but those users just had dramatically higher retention, word of mouth, and so on. And so we tried to simulate, okay, what would a 10-minute delivery look like, shorten the delivery radiuses and so on. And over a couple of days, we just went and tried to simulate it first to see whether it's even possible to do this whole 10-minute delivery thing at scale, and how customers reacted, right? And we simulated that with one of these sort of stores, and what we figured was that you rang the doorbell, someone ordered, paid or whatever. 10 minutes later, their doorbell rings, and this is again I'm talking about March 2021, right before any of all of this crazy stuff happened. And the look on their face was just enough to know that, okay, there's something here, right? It wasn't clear at that point how big this could be, who the right customer would be, what products we'd be selling, or any of those things. But it was clear that there's some level of magic here. And so, that's just what we went after, saying that, okay, if there's, this is something that none of the customers whose doorbells we rang, no one had experienced anything like it. And so we just ran behind, okay, how do we make this possible? And how do we make this possible at as large of a scale as we can?
Anand Axel recently invested in Swish, a Bangalore-based quick commerce company. Tell us a bit about, as an investor, why do you think India has been an outlier? I mean, no other country has shown this kind of success for quick commerce. What do you think works in India, and what has enabled this kind of growth in the quick commerce space?
I think a few things are coming together in India. One is the market's there. Like, it's a very large. If you take overall retail, it's well north of 800 billion. It's a large market. And if you see the number of organized retail in India, it's still relatively low compared to developed markets. So market's large. And then the second big ingredient is disruptive founders wanting to try, like as you heard, as an 18-year-old wanting to change the world. I think India's come of age there in the last decade. There are amazing founders wanting to change, right? So that's another. The third is the consumer needs to be ready, right? So we all know about the smartphone penetration, the payment penetration, all the rails that are needed, right? So everything's there and people want convenience more and more. Obviously, the Flipkarts and the first generation of e-commerce has trained people to transact, and then food delivery help train to get things in 30, 45 minutes. And then what's next? There's a natural evolution. And it's very different from other markets in the sense that like if you take India, two-wheeler penetration, going and delivering, all that, like and the cost of labor, and even with low AOV, making the unit level possible, all this confluence of factors with the consumer and with the right set of entrepreneurs, it's very unique, right? And it's different from other markets where there are alternate ways of going, and there's habits formed over years of going to a Whole Foods and shopping. You don't want to change that. That might be your relaxing for the Saturday, right? So I think there are a number of things that have come together, and I go back to traffic. So it makes it even harder to just step out and do anything in most cities in India. So you put all this together, it's a like perfect, in a different way, the perfect good storm of things to come together to make quick commerce possible in India.
So, as an investor, how do you now read the situation? Earlier, there were 2-3 companies in the quick commerce space, and now every company wants to be a quick commerce provider as well. Does it make your job difficult as an investor to choose who to bet on?
See, I think if you look at new investments, any new investments, when we invest in Swiggy, it was seed, right? So like very similar to the stage he mentioned earlier, right? So I think it's a 2-3 people with an idea to change the world, right? And then what is the unique insight they bring to the table is what's important, number one. Number two is, okay, you have the insight. Is the market ready? We have already talked about in quick commerce. Across every sector, there's probably opportunity. What's your unique angle to win against all this now large incumbents with deep pockets of cash, right? So that's the second thing. And third is the ability of the team to really, okay, how will you go about it? What can you do? Like this will show us just step by step, like starting with the 200 stores or whatever, like prove it in one area and then grow. So the methodical way of de-risking the business. I think all three need to come together, and that's what we look for in the early stages.
So both of you have a ringside view of what's happening in quick commerce, and you are shaping trends also, so to say. So leave us with one big change that we will see in quick commerce this year using artificial intelligence. How is it going to redefine the experience for consumers?
I can talk maybe a little bit about what we're doing. There's a couple of things that the customer will end up seeing directly, a couple of them that they won't, right? The things that the customer will directly see. So there's a couple of recent ones, like for example, now we're at a point where something like almost about half of the customer support tickets that happen on Zepto right now are completely handled by an LLM, right? Where there's like zero human intervention required, and this AI customer support agent is able to take the ticket to conclusion without any human involvement. So that's one, for example, that's already underway, and we'll just sort of keep proving that. Today, if you have rotten bananas, for example, you reach out to customer support, some human agent validates that. Today, we're at a point where actually, image detection models are good enough to give you a pretty good idea, okay, like on a scale of 5, like this is 4 out of 5 pretty crappy bananas. And so that's one that, on customer support. Beyond that, there's, which is all the personalization stuff. Especially as now we're, Zepto and quick commerce more generally is getting into a lot more categories, whether that's electronics or apparel or general merchandising or beauty and all of these things. figuring out who cares about what and, showing them the right things and making them actually, first of all, aware that Zepto sells X, Y, and Z. We're trying to make someone aware that Zepto has 30,000 SKUs. You can't do that one at a time. So you have to really pick and choose, okay, this is somebody who's likely to care about electronics. So I want to make them aware that Zepto sells electronics. So this is someone who's likely to be, a beauty customer. And so I want them to know that Zepto has like all these imported beauty brands like Huda Beauty and this and that on the platform, right? And so the other one that customers will really start to see, and it's already happening, is a lot of personalization on the app. In search, if you're, someone who likes buying premium chocolates, then your search ranking should be very different. Maybe I'm super price sensitive when it comes to, fruits and vegetables. So my search ranking should be completely different. And so there's a bunch of these minor things on search and recommendations and personalization that we've been working on for a long time, and we'll sort of just keep amplifying this year as well.
Anand, want to add something?
No, I think you can look at it inside the company, like everything from supply chain optimization to the warehouse to the store. Dark stores are designed completely differently than any store you've been, right? Like, and then how the company even codes and everything internal. There's one lot of changes happening. I think that's happening faster than the consumer-facing one. Because if you look at the consumer-facing options, obviously there's personalization. But if you look at generative AI, right? So it can be used for chats, right? And then it's mostly now typing chats, right? Interactive chats. It's going to move to voice-based, and then there's video, right? As the fundamental models improve, the cost keeps going down of inference and everything. I think step by step you'll see more and more of that on the consumer-facing side. So I think it's a journey. We're still very early. I don't see that many consumer-facing apps. If people are doing something, love to learn more, right? But it's still very early days and lot of runway there.
Thank you so much, Kaivalya and Anand, for taking time out and speaking here. Thank you.
I would like to invite Chirag Taneja on stage to present these felicitations. So without further ado, let's begin. The first recognition of the evening is for Cultural Heritage Reviver. What does that mean? It's honoring a brand that has seamlessly woven cultural heritage into its identity. So the Cultural Heritage Reviver felicitation goes to Adil Kadri. Well, up next is a most loved ethnic wear brand, celebrating a brand that brings tradition to life in the most exquisite way. And the most loved ethnic wear brand is Libas. Next category is the brand Building Maestro, recognizing a brand that has set new standards for creativity and growth in men's grooming. And the brand Building Maestro goes to Bombay Shaving Company. Up next is the Timeless Elegance, a recognition honoring a brand that has redefined sophistication and craftsmanship in the world of jewelry. And the Timeless Elegance recognition goes to Ziraki Jewels. The last felicitation for this set is for Menswear Excellence brand, celebrating a brand that has redefined modern man fashion with style and quality. The recognition for the Menswear Excellence brand goes to Harfan. The breakthrough in premium innovation goes to My Frito. The felicitation for the most Instagrammable fashion brand goes to Berry Lush. Revolutionizing comfort recognition goes to Naked by Nykaa. This brand has made wearable devices smarter, sleeker, and more consumer-friendly. The wearable tech reinventor recognition goes to Pebble from the Mensa family. Their commitment to sustainability and mindful innovation sets them apart as a leader in this category. The Nature's Essence innovator is Soul Flower.